Hi everyone. My name is Fynn, as mentioned before. Today I want to talk to you about Linux and the question, I can as Linux? Well, can you? I will not waste my or your time by explaining to you how to set up Ubuntu because it's fairly self-explanatory and it has been explained like 1,000 times. But we're going to go with the part where people often are worried about things like, so if I install this new operating system and something goes wrong, well, what am I going to do? I don't know it. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what could go wrong. So we're going to go for the part where something could go wrong and mostly general things that will help you to look up things that you could be confronted with when there is an error happening or something like that. To get there, the first thing I want to talk to you about is operating systems in general, and more specific, what a Linux looks like under the hood in very vague terms. So I prepared something here which looks like kind of a generic screenshot of your desktop, right? You have some stuff here on the main screen. You have a launcher bar here that you can click on and start applications, and you have a taskbar down here. So first, let's think about what we're seeing. The icons on the desktop, they are all labeled, so we can look at the names and try to see what it is. This one, for example, is a JPEG, so it's an image file. This one's a video, it's an MP4. Here we have a program. Here we have a .doc, so a document file. This one is a .exe, so an executable. Here we have a mounted volume, and here we have a folder. Okay, cool. What does that tell us? Well, first of all, we easily can see that these two things are just data files. This is just a data file, right? Talking about Linux, let's see what else we find. So that's a file. And that is also a file. Now we have this. What is that? That's a program, right? Or more specifically, it's a part of a program that you click on to activate the program, because probably somewhere there's a huge directory with stuff in it that it needs to use. So this actually is an executable, and an executable is a file. It's a filing to a lot of different things, but it's still a file. This is even labeled .exe, which would be the Windows version of executable files. So this one's a file. Now we have weird things like folders, right? And I cannot really talk about Windows because I don't know the structure there, but in Linux, this, well, would be a file. It's a file that lists other files that are inside. So let's say this one is a file containing other files. There we go. The volume, well, it's mounted, and there is an external thing somewhere that you have mounted, but represented in the operating system, it is actually as kind of a folder, so kind of another file containing other files. So as you see, everything we see here is a file. And what about these? Well, these are also executable, so they are also some kind of file, right? Okay, so after now seeing that these things are all files, I hear what you're all thinking. It's like, yo, dog, I heard you really like files. Oh yeah, we do. Linux loves files because there is not really much that is not a file. Where are we heading with this? Well, let's simplify what we saw so far a little bit. So we have a desktop, and here are all the files listed that we have seen. There are regular files, the gray ones, these are directories, and the blue ones are executable files, right? So we see all of them here in a simple list. And that's a view that you can also have in your regular file explorer. And then you try to interact with them. And usually you do that by clicking, I guess. But you could also imagine something else, like you just write commands somewhere and then things happen. So for example, you could say, I want to go to this launchbar folder, right? And then when you are in the launchbar folder, you want to list all the files. And whoop, look at that. There are all the files. And there's also a little file that is 2 dots. Yeah, that's Linux way of saying you can also leave that folder and go back to the folder above. So in that case, that would be the desktop folder. Why am I telling you all of this? Is there a thing like that? Yes, there is. And this is the part where I'm going to show you a Ubuntu, which has just been freshly installed today, so I didn't modify anything about it. And we're going to take a look at the thing there that is called the terminal. And the terminal is basically that thing that we just saw. How do we find that? We have, where's the, I'm missing a button here. Okay. So this is a terminal, and basically you see what I told you before. Look, so we're in desktop now. So this is the folder we're seeing. We can do an ls, and ls stands for list. So it's going to list all my files. There isn't terribly much on the desktop right now. I can also say ls -a if I think it's hiding something from me. And here you see we have these 2 dots that I promised. This is if we want to go up. To go somewhere, I said we can go somewhere. Yeah, that's not go to, but in Linux, or rather in Bash, it's usually cd, that's change directory. And if we just do change directory with nothing specified, we get to our home. So now we are at home, and there we can see we have a lot of folders. All the blue things are folders. That's nice, right? Okay, so we can navigate around. We can change our directory. We can see what's in the directory. We can also go to the snap directory, for example, and we can go back, so change directory to the 2 dots. And what is the point of this thing now? So we have something where we can view our files, and it's kind of like a file explorer, but less handy. Yeah, and also it can do everything. So a lot of people use mainly the terminal and not really much else, because this is not just a view into your folders. This is something you can control your entire operating system with. And that's the reason why I'm talking to you about this right now, because sometimes there are things that you could probably somehow do in the graphic interface, but when you're doing some hardcore debugging, you usually want to look at a terminal every now and then. So let's see what else we can do there, aside from listing files and changing directories. We can make directories. We can make a directory. That's the instruction for that, mkdir, and we'll call it shark. Now, when we list the things, we have a directory here that is called shark. Nice, right? We can also remove things. We can try to remove, rm is remove shark. And oh snap, there's the first mistake. Was it really? Let's see. Oh yeah, the directory shark still exists, and rm tells us it cannot remove shark because shark is a directory. That's okay. Rm is something that expects a file, but you can tell rm that it's supposed to actually remove everything inside a directory if it's a directory. So we can do this, and now it's gone. Nice. What else can we do? We can actually launch programs from here. What kind of programs do we have? So here's a launch bar, and it says that there's Firefox installed on this Ubuntu. So we can just try to type Firefox, right? And it takes a bit, but boom, there's Firefox. We can launch it just from the terminal. The downside here is that if you now look at the terminal, it's kind of blocked, right? I cannot do anything here. Yeah, but that's okay. We can launch programs differently. We can launch them in the background, but it's just to demonstrate here. You can launch everything that is installed on your computer from the terminal. What else can we do? We can print the content of files. Like currently we are only looking at directories. We can just go to the Vim directory, We can see what's in there, and there is a readme.txt. We want to look at that, so we can say cat. Cat is something that just prints the entire content of a file. So we write cat readme.txt, and here's the entire contents of the file. So that's nice. And then we can proceed with whatever we wanted to do. Then, well, like this, we can basically do anything. We can also launch programs to change files. And since everything is a file, that's pretty mighty in this operating system. But sometimes things are not allowed for us, like if we want to change files in certain directories or go to certain directories. For example, we have a weird directory that is called etc. That's actually where Linux keeps a lot of files that it needs to just run, like programs. And sometimes we are not allowed to change a file in there. So if we say we want to, Nano is a text editor, so we could edit files with it. And I think if we open pom.conf, it says here that pom.conf is unwritable. So we are not allowed to change that, but hypothetically we could. And now I forgot how to exit Nano. Oh well. I'm just gonna open a new terminal. What does that mean? We cannot change that file? Oh, actually we're allowed to do pretty much anything. The only thing we have to do is we have to use sudo. Sudo is a command that says super user do. So I say I'm the super user computer. I can do literally anything. So just do it. Sudo makes that I can write nano and then open pom.conf. But I first have to enter my password. And now, as we see here, it doesn't say that it's not writable anymore because we're not the super user. So that's nice. But yeah, okay. So this is probably the easiest way to navigate around your system if you want to change critical stuff. Just keep that in mind. You might want to use the terminal if you're not sure about it. And actually, I don't know how to open a restricted file like the pom.conf in your normal user interface unless it magically pops up a question if you want to enter a password. But hey, here you can do it, so you're safe, right? So this is the thing how you can go in your first step about fixing stuff. The second step is going to need some background information as well. And for that, we want to take a look at where all the little programs come from that you actually have in your operating system. So I guess you install them, right? Correct, you install them. But what does it mean installing? And that's important because installing sometimes goes wrong. Usually it doesn't, but sometimes it does. So let's take a look at install processes. For the install process, I have prepared a little package here. Oh wait, I can stop sharing my screen. I have prepared a little package here, right? You can just download programs from some website online and then you get this folder and it's full of stuff. It's full of things that you need to build things and you need to install your application. And there's some data in there that you also need for it to run. And usually when you download some of that some Linux program, there's a readme.txt. Hey, we've seen a readme.txt before today, right? So what do you even need that for? Usually at some point in the readme.txt, it will tell you important things like to install this program, there's this and that dependency, so you have to install it first. Like maybe you need a certain library to run the program. And then you read the readme.txt and you know what to do first. And then this is an example. There are other programs that could do that for you, but look, a make file. It says make, so what does that mean? Make is a thing that people build because building programs from this source package here is really annoying and error prone, so we want to automate that and not leave it to the user to do. A make file itself doesn't really do much. It's a text file saying some stuff, right? For this, you actually need another program. It's called make. I have built a little make here, and it's using its screwdriver. So this is make. Make has a lot of tools that you can attach and deattach, and also you can put a make file in there. So let me just apply this make file here. There we go. And now we can say, yo, make. Just do whatever it says in the make file, and it's gonna start working. Cool, right? So that's some kind of magic, because what does it do? Well, make doesn't do that much magic. It just takes away a lot of annoying grunt work for us. What it does is it extracts files where they need to be extracted. It links things together. It compiles something into a binary, so into an executable file, makes things executable, and you can actually say something like make install, and then make will do the entire installation process where it puts things in the right places and links them to aliases. And at the end, magically, you just can type the name of the program into your shell or find it in your launcher or something and click it, and then the program launches, and you didn't have to do all that stuff that make did for you. That's nice, right? Okay, but that is still not that handy, or at least not as handy as it could be, right? Because you have this dependency file, and then you have to look at everything in the dependency file and install that. And what if you want to update something? Make can't update something? Oh, that's okay, because somebody took care of that. So you see this is make. Make is just standing here waiting for a make file, and you put packages in there, and then these packages get installed. But what if we didn't have make? We had something that already knows all the packages, and you can just tell it, hey, get this for me, and that would be great, right? As you can see, it says apt here, and apt actually is one package manager. There are more than one, but that's what a package manager does. A package manager is make on crack or something. It knows a lot of things which are stored in repositories, and you can just say apt get me that program, and if any of the repositories that it knows that program, it's going to do it. And if you tell it to, it even will install automatically all of the dependencies that this program has. This means that these packages must contain more information than the ones that make has, kinda, but that's a different problem. There are file endings for that. .deb, for example, you can throw DEB files into apt and install them, but that's details. We want to know the rough idea right now. And the rough idea is this is what you're mostly going to use. And if there is an option to use a package manager, please do yourself a favor and do it, because apt does a bit more than just install things. It keeps in mind what is installed already. It keeps in mind where things are, and most importantly, probably, if you want to remove something, you don't have to purge all the files from everywhere and see if there's something left. You just tell apt to get rid of it, and apt will do that, plus uninstalling all dependencies that are unnecessary. So let's take a quick look, and I'm low on time, so it's going to be a real quick look at what all of that looks like. So back to our VM here. And we are back in the terminal. So I had a Vim folder lying around here before, and that's because I usually use Vim. It's a text editor, and it's not installed yet. So if I type Vim, nothing happens, or rather, it tells me command Vim was not found, but I could try sudo apt install Vim. I always need sudo to install something because I'm changing things in important folders. So I'm going to try that, right? Sudo apt install Vim. And it asks me, do you want to continue? Yes or no. It tells me a few things about this package. The Y is capital. That means if I type nothing here, just press enter, it chooses yes as a default. So now I wait for a bit, and Now it's done. And I can start Vim. Nice. But I said that I can also do this a different way, right? I can first remove Vim again, so it's not here anymore. And now I already, my screen is just so small. I already downloaded a Vim folder. That's this Vim folder we saw earlier, because this is the entire source package for Vim. So this is the package I showed you earlier, where there's everything in there that we need. And if we look into it, there is a makefile. And we could go into the README directory, where there are READMEs for like any situation where you could want to build it, but we are low on time. So I'm just going to say make. And make, as you can see, make does a lot of things, like really a lot of things. And there is an error. Yeah, that's a C compiler problem. I'm not going to fix that right now. So theoretically, this is the part where you are glad that you already know what make is doing roughly. Theoretically, make should now be ready to install. Then you can type make install and it's going to do the rest. But since the make failed with an error, that's not going to work. And I'm not going to be able to fix this right now because I still want to take some of your questions. So rough overview for the finish. What did we see? We saw make that builds your programs. We saw a package manager, APT in that case, but there are many more, that organizes all of your packages and dependencies for you, plus doing everything that make did. And we also saw that theoretically you can build all of that yourself, but unless there's no other option, you really don't want to do this. So this is your hierarchy, basically, of options to install a program on your system. And unless something goes wrong, usually you're good with APT. So this wraps it up for me. And now I am here to take questions.
Awesome. That was so cool. We had a lot of responses that loved your slides and the way that you explained things. So that's great. One of the questions that came in during your talk was, can you explain sudo versus su?
I actually don't use su so much. I use sudo su, and I know that then you are root instead of just giving commands as root, but I cannot explain too much about that actually. Sorry.
Awesome. No, that's totally okay. And if anybody in the chat wants to answer that question, feel free to.
Oh yes,
great.
please.
And then, this is an interesting question. So somebody said, when you type Firefox into the command prompt and you hit enter and Firefox launches, do you have to exit Firefox before launching another program in that command prompt?
If you do it the way I did, yes, because then the shell is blocking. So it's just showing you empty lines or output from Firefox. You can launch it in the background by putting an ampersand at the end of the thing that you're executing. So then it's going to still show you the output, but in between you can type other things. So you can theoretically launch infinitely many applications from one shell. And you can also somehow dispatch a new application from a shell. So you don't have to open a new shell for everything that you want to run.
Awesome. That is a great answer. So I think I'm trying to see if there's any other questions, but I think that was, let me see. Okay, so in chat, people are saying su changes you to root and sudo executes the command as root. So yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. Just trying to see, and if you are in the GoToWebinar session and you have any questions, you can use the questions feature. I'm looking there as well. Also check watching Discord. And I don't know that we have any more questions unless I missed something, but Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to share as we wait for some incoming questions?
Well, since somebody mentioned being root on the system, you can obviously be root. Just type in your password, like type sudo su and then your password and your root. But pay attention to what you do, because Linux is gonna let you do literally everything as root, like everything, even delete vital files from the operating system, and without them it won't work anymore. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. That's an important thing to remember is when you're root, you have all the power and
Oh yeah.
you can break everything. Awesome. Um, well, thank you so much. That was a great talk.
There's a question: where would
Oh,
one go to learn more Linux command line kung fu?
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's also a really good question. First of all, obviously, Google can help you with pretty much everything. Um, the rest, you basically learn it along the way while trying to figure out what things you want to use for everything that you need. Um, there are a few applications that are really, really useful and really complex, like grep, for example, which lets you search for things inside files. Or I was thinking about curl. Curl is like GUI-less browser, so it just shows you text output from internet websites. And they are really complex and really useful at times. And the catch-all thing is that if you see a command line application anywhere, you can always type man, like man, and then the command to invoke that program. And man shows you the manual page, so it shows you an instruction on how to use that thing. So keep man in mind.
Yeah, that's a great tip. The man pages are very helpful. I know a lot of people who learned like that. Let's see. For a new
I
Ubuntu
do
update, oh, sorry.
I do not have tutorials with cool props on YouTube. I don't use YouTube a lot for learning Linux, to be honest. So there was another one.
Yeah, so somebody, let's see here, where'd it go? For the new Ubuntu update, is it recommended to do a completely fresh install or an in-place upgrade? Okay, I don't know if that was to you or somebody in the chat. I'm not entirely sure. Okay.
What was the question?
It was, the question was, sorry, keeping track of Discord can be hard.
No worries.
For the new Ubuntu update, is it recommended to do a completely fresh install or an in-place upgrade? Okay.
Okay, in-place upgrade is usually okay. Always make backups before you do in-place upgrades. I haven't run into a problem there yet, but it's obviously a breaking point. So make a backup before and then just run in-place upgrade.
Awesome. So, thank you so much. This has been really cool. I've never seen Linux explained this way, and I think you did an amazing job. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, and I know a bunch of people. I'm seeing similar comments about the explanations as well. So, are you going to be in Discord if anybody else has questions later?
I'm gonna be in Discord for a while, not for the entire event because it's gonna be until 2 a.m.
Right.
But yeah, I'll be there for a while. Add me if you want to know anything, and
Awesome.
have fun with the other talks.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to dismiss you as presenter and bring in our next speaker.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.